Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Good morning, Vietnam!
You are great.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. Classic movies, 30 years in the making. Yeah, the 30-something movie podcast.
Bam.
How you doing, Pat?
Doing well, John.
So I got Pat Canigallo with me here, and I'm your host, John Reed, and we are on episode number 186. I got to get something squared away for 200, because I feel like that's going to come up really fast.
It can tend to do that.
So I'm thinking of some ideas.
186. 186.
Yeah, 186.
186 miles an hour is the gentleman's agreement that the Japanese motorcycle companies had for limiting their motorcycles' top speeds.
Really?
There was a time. Now that's since kind of changed.
Okay.
I think it works out to like some kind of like the amount makes more sense when you look at kilometers per hour.
Okay.
But I know that the Japanese motorcycle companies got together and there was
them.
they all got together and they just said, you know what? 186 miles an hour. You don't want to go too faster than that. So we're limiting the bikes. They can only do that.
Huh.
Street bikes. Now, it was. And now I think that's since changed, but there was a time, and they'd have them electronically limited, too, that, like, you know, you'd get out there and you'd crank on whatever those road real fast bikes were. They'd get up and they'd get about 186, and then they'd be limited to that amount of speed. Yeah.
Huh.
That possibly has since changed. This might have been just, you know, as different things go. But I don't know what made it that. However many kilometers an hour it is. What does that make it?
I just looked something up really fast. I don't know if this is true or not. I haven't had time to vet it. The OEM Japanese manufacturers decided to limit the speed of any bike that could approach 200 miles per hour to 186 miles per hour.
That's it?
Mainly
185, 186, 187,
yeah,
forget it, man. That's your danger zone.
Mm-mm.
Danger zone.
I feel like it's the Monty Python skit.
Yeah.
Then thou shalt count to 5.
Yes.
Yes. Or 3. 1, 2, 5.
3, sir.
3. Let's see. Mainly the reason was to keep the government from stepping in and setting horsepower limits.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they I think they just stopped the train. They got it to the bikes were starting to get past that, so they just electronically limited.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something here is 187 300 kilometers per hour.
That would make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's an even. That's an even number.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, it looks like it says here. Insurance companies were looking to drop sport bike coverage if manufacturers didn't stop the trend. 187 is an arbitrary compromise reached between insurance companies and manufacturers. Most riders have accidents below 70 miles per hour, therefore more riders die from accidents below 70 miles per hour. I don't know what the hell that means.
Well, the motorcycle podcast, I've got some opinions on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're going to do a motorcycle podcast. The 30-something motorcycle podcast.
Get Jeff in there for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like it's 300 kilometers per hour.
It is.
I haven't done the math, so...
I believe that I think 186, or maybe it's 187 is right around there. But yeah, so 186, that number sticks in my head because can't go faster than that.
6 is good.
Yes.
6 is good. All right. Well, we're not here to talk motorcycles. Were there any motorcycles in Red Heat? There was a motorcycle in Colors.
Yeah.
He steals a motorcycle when he high top steals the bike and then crashes it through the restaurant.
Yeah, I don't.
Red Heat. Were there any Red Heat?
Not that I recall.
I've never seen any. Okay. So this was a down movie for you.
There's a bus chase though.
There is a bus chase. That was pretty cool.
Oh boy.
All right. So this one, if you haven't figured it out yet, we are talking Red Heat. This is episode number 186 for us. We spoil the events of movies we talk about. So if you have not seen Red Heat yet, you may want to go see it and then come on back and then leave us a review on iTunes. If you're listening and you like what you're hearing, leave us a review. 5 stars.
Add a 6th in the comments section.
Or review us twice, and that would be 10.
Yep.
And that would be totally awesome.
Yep.
I don't know if you can do that.
I think you can.
You make it happen. And then tell your friends, and then they can tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on. So I have with me Pat Canagala.
Hey.
The rest of the guys still life, sometimes life finds a way. Sometimes life gets in the way.
That's right.
The anti-Jurassic Park philosophy. So life is in the way for the rest of the guys, so they're not able to be here today. But Jeff definitely look forward to getting back in June.
Yep.
I think when I started telling him what the movies were in June, he was like, "Oh, yeah. I'm coming back."
Yeah.
So hopefully we get some of those guys back pretty soon. Before we jump on in the movie, there was one thing that kind of happened a little while ago, but I didn't get much of a chance to talk to Jeff about it or to any of you guys about it, so I'm just going to throw it out there, and this will be our one new movie news thing for this time, and then we'll jump on into the movie. A little while back, Steven Spielberg came out and said that he doesn't believe that anything that goes up on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime or any of those streaming services, he doesn't believe that any of those movies should be eligible for Oscars.
What?
He said, and a few people agree with him, he said that he believes for something to be eligible for an Oscar, it needs to be shown in a theater. Therefore, any movies...
Oh, you don't mean like after it comes out of the theater?
No, I mean anything that started on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime or any of those, anything that's a movie that's released on those platforms, he doesn't believe it should be eligible for an Oscar.
Okay.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. Because when I first saw that, I was like, well, Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's not a dumb guy, so maybe he's got something to this. But then the more I thought of it, I thought, like, well, why? Like, why does it have to be in a movie theater for it to be, if Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, if those are the new way for some of the more independent people to get their stuff out there, then why...
Yeah.
If it's for the art, then why do we have to worry about where the art comes from or where the art's displayed?
Unless he's just trying to maintain the idea of a movie theater.
Yeah, I mean, that could be part of it too. Yeah, like keeping that experience going. And
most of the stuff, like, I don't know, like... See, and that's where it gets into the other thing. Most of the stuff I see coming on those channels, they're TV shows.
Right.
Which I've said, like, last week is, sometimes they seem like mini movies. Or, like multi-part... A movie split into multi-parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Can you give awards like the Golden Globes and everything else like that?
No, I'm not sure.
I mean, they can get
Yeah.
Emmys or Oscars or... Not Tonys, that's Broadway. But you know what I'm saying? Like, okay,
Yeah.
well, so maybe the idea is if it comes out on Netflix or Hulu, it's a TV show, so it gets another category of awards.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there were a couple of examples here. I'm pull up an article from Variety magazine, and in this article it says. So here's actually a quote from Steven Spielberg. He was interviewed on ITV News, and he was quoted as saying that he believes Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, those are television. They're not movies.
Okay.
So his argument is once you commit to a television format, you're a TV movie.
Sure, okay.
You certainly, if it's a good show, deserve an Emmy, but not an Oscar.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't believe films that are just given token qualifications in a couple of theaters or less than a week should qualify for the Academy Award nomination. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He explained it. I mean, that...
He explained it. I still don't know that I agree with it.
We just have to find the example that disproves the rule.
Right. Well, they give a couple examples here. They say Netflix recently started gaining awards recognition for films like Mudbound, which received a one-week theatrical release in New York and Los Angeles. Ava DuVernay's 13th, which did not release in theaters, was nominated for Best Documentary Feature at the 2016 Academy Award. Did you ever see that one, 13th? That was a pretty good one. But a few other people, there's a couple of Netflix movies that were released at like the Cannes Film Festival and things like that. But, I think that's...
It's like so much things...
I had not thought about it before,
but
my thought was... Initially, I looked at it, I was like, oh, well, Steven Spielberg, he's probably got a point. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, who cares? Like, I get wanting to keep the movie theaters alive and to do that part of it, but I'm like, why not? I mean, if it's about the art, and somebody puts out good art, then
Yeah.
Why can we not? Why can't we not have that be eligible for the same award that?
Do indie movies or things that go to the Cannes Film Festival normally end up
It's
at
easy
the
for you to say.
end up at the Oscars?
They can. Yeah.
Oh, well.
That was not a joke. Saying they can.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
can
right,
figure
yeah.
it out.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those conversations that we either want to take it deep into the night and just kind of keep discussing over and over,
Right.
or it's just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to diminish
yeah.
the thing, but it's like those would be follow-up questions that would be interesting to ask. Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Are you more worried about? Why aren't you worried about the art, or are you worried about theaters, or are you worried about
As somebody who's gone a little bit further into the world of like movie production and things like that, I'd be curious to know what Dennis thought about this. I mean, I think Dennis and Jeff too. I'd be curious to know what kind of their thoughts would be on something like this, because I look at it and I go, I don't care where it comes from. If it's a good movie, it should be up for an Academy Award. But if there's other considerations, and I'm sure there's other very political considerations that go into a lot of that stuff.
I get so sick of politics with all that stuff. Politics in the Olympics, politics in the Academy Awards, politics, and I'm not talking about Republican Democrat type stuff, but it's just like enough. I just don't have time for that. I just don't have time for the soap opera. I don't have time for the drama. I don't, which I'm not attributing to Steven Spielberg. He could have just been making some comments, and that's where, like I said, it would be interesting to see as these questions are posed to him what he says. But we have a lot of new media.
Right.
Mediums or whatever you would call it, like when they were at Facebook in front of Congress and they were trying to define it.
Right.
Is Facebook like something new? Is it a utility? Is it they're trying to define like what this is, and in some takes it's like, well, why do we have to define it? Well, we have to define it because you have to know how that it needs to be possibly controlled, taxed, left alone, protected. We have to define a thing so that we can, and it just sounds like that with this. It's like, well, how are we defining movies from how are we defining movies?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But
yeah, because I mean, this year there was that Mudbound movie. It was released on Netflix. So I think that was the first time that you did have a streaming service movie that did get Oscar nominations. I think it got 3 or 4 Oscar nominations, and then you had a couple of movies that were released at the Cannes Film Festival, and one of them either won an award or got nominated for the major award at the film festival. And I think part of this started because the Cannes Film Festival came out and said, no more. Like, we're not going to allow any Netflix movies to be up for our most prestigious awards here at the Cannes Film Festival. We feel like they need to be in theaters. So I do wonder if part of it is a political piece of, we need to support, the movie theaters who show our movies. We need to support them by saying, if you want to be up for an award, you got to be in a movie theater.
And it could just be tradition in the best sense of Tevye. It's just like, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's all I got for the new movie news stuff. So we'll jump on into Red Heat here. Red Heat came out in the 17th of June, 1988, was rated R, runtime of 1 hour and 44 minutes. Director was Walter Hill, who did 48 Hours and Last Man Standing. Producer was Gordon Carroll, who died in 2005, did Cool Hand Luke and the Aliens movies. Walter Hill was also a producer. He did the Aliens movies and Tales from the Crypt. Writers for this one, also Walter Hill, he's doing everything here, did story and screenplay. He also wrote for 48 Hours, Aliens, and Alien 3. Harry Kleiner did the screenplay. He died in 2007. Also did the screenplays for Bullet and Carmen Jones. Troy Kennedy Martin, who also did screenplay, died in 2009. Did The Italian Job, the 1969 version, and Kelly's Heroes. Cinematography was done by Matthew F. Leonetti, who did Poltergeist, Commando, and Star Trek First Contact. Music by James Horner, who died in 2015. He did The Rocketeer, Star Trek II, and Braveheart. Budget was $29 million. Box office was $35 million. Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as Ivan Danko. You're welcome. Terminator movies, Predator, and Total Recall. Jim Belushi was Art Ridzik, who was in About Last Night and K-9. Peter Boyle, who died in 2006, was Lou Donnelly. He was in Young Frankenstein, Taxi Driver, and Everybody Loves Raymond. Ed O'Ross played Victor Rostavili. He was in Lethal Weapon and Dick Tracy. Lawrence, or Larry Fishburne, as he was known at this point, played Lieutenant Stobbs. He was in Mystic River and the Matrix trilogy. Gina Gershon was Kat Manzetti. She was in Face Off and Showgirls. Richard Bright, who died in 2006, was Sergeant Gallagher. He was in the Godfather trilogy and Once Upon a Time in America. Critical reception for this one, Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it a 62%. Vincent Canby of the New York Times said, Red Heat is a topically entertaining variation on the sort of action-adventure nonsense that plays best on television. And Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars and said, Red Heat is not the first movie about a couple of very different cops, and it will not be the last, but as the formula goes, this is a superior example. Audience rating for this one. The audience on this one on Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 37%, so audience was quite a bit down from the critics, who gave it a 62%. But the audience who actually saw this in the theaters gave it a B. So the Cinema score was a B, so not too bad. No awards for this one, and this, I'll just read the summary directly off of Wikipedia, because it's really short. Captain Ivan Danko, you're welcome, of the Moscow militia sets a trap for Victor Rustaveli, a Georgian drug kingpin and crime lord. The ambush severely backfires. Victor flees the Soviet Union and comes to the U.S. after gunning down several other Moscow cops, including Danko's partner. Loudmouth Chicago Police Department Detective Sergeant Art Ridzik investigates several local murders committed by Victor's cartel. When Victor's arrested in Chicago, Danko is dispatched to escort him back to Moscow to face justice in the Soviet Union. Unexpectedly, Danko and Ridzik find themselves partnered together when Victor escapes custody, gunning down Ridzik's partner, Gallagher, in the process. Danko is frustrated when his lack of diplomatic license prohibits him from carrying a weapon. He shares his candid observations with Ridzik. This Chicago is a very strange city. Your crime is organized, but your police is not. Danko and Ridzik pursue Victor and his henchmen around Chicago. Finally, Danko and Victor commandeer a couple of Greyhound buses, then engage in a high-speed chase, which concludes with Victor's collision with a freight train. When Danko confronts him, Victor shoots at him, only to be gunned down. Danko returns to Moscow after exchanging wristwatches with Ridzik as an act of goodwill.
Look, just out of curiosity, how do you Soviets deal with all the tension and stress?
Vodka.
Police Captain Ivan Danko came from behind the Iron Curtain.
Danko, you're welcome.
Hunting down his country's deadliest criminal.
What did he do? You take a leak on the Kremlin wall or something?
I need cooperation.
Sure. Whatever you say, Gumby.
Now, he's about to team up.
What'd he say?
He say, go and kiss your mother's behind.
With the most unpredictable cop.
How you doing, honey?
Drop dead.
Thank you.
On the streets of Chicago.
You look like Marvin Hagler to me. I lost money on Hagler.
Capitalism.
He's got his own kind of style.
And body language is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
He's got no style at all.
Chicago cop never relinquishes his weapon. Here.
Ridzik is a good cop.
Police!
And a total expert at fouling up.
You did not make it, Victor. He killed a Chicago police officer. Chicago gets him first. I have my honor.
With this much friction,
I give up. This whole thing's very Russian.
there's gotta be heat.
I take care of this.
Red Heat.
You know what we call this? This is called chicken. But you're not supposed to play with boxes. You ready to swerve?
Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Belushi, in a Walter Hill film.
Nice work, Gumby.
Thank you.
I didn't mean that.
I know.
Red Heat.
So a couple of quick background things on this one. Apparently the film crew applied for a permit to be able to film in Red Square in Moscow, but the application was denied, so they kind of snuck in. They put Arnold in the costume that he needed to be wearing, and they pretended as if they were filming like a family video. So they just a couple guys with a camera were filming him. They're like, yeah, no, we're not making a movie here. Just
nothing to see here.
Nothing
folks.
to see here. Nothing
That's
to see. Yet.
That's funny.
Schwarzenegger spent 3 months learning to speak Russian. Jim Belushi spent 2 weeks working at a Chicago police district headquarters. The film is dedicated to its stunt coordinator, Benny E. Dobbins. Dobbins died of a heart attack on the set while staging the film's snow fight scene in Ramsau, Austria. Although, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. if I was half naked and
clothes
ended up
on,
in the
put
snow,
clothes on.
I would have died of a heart attack too.
I agree.
That's a lot of shifting in temperatures.
There's
a lot of hot stuff going on inside the sauna. I don't even know what you call that.
I don't know what was going on there.
That's a weight room sauna
thing.
Cult.
Yes, John. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know what that was.
What you're saying, John, is correct.
It's like I'm like the opposite of Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi. Everything in that sentence was correct.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But anyway, the stunt coordinator died of a heart attack while filming that scene. This part I thought was kind of interesting, and it kind of shows how there's a different tone to this movie than some of the other 80s Schwarzenegger movies that we've watched so far. Walter Hill deliberately chose to tone down the Arnold Schwarzenegger persona, making him more realistic and less prone to wisecracks. Walter Hill was quoted as saying, "I had confidence in him as an actor. I didn't want him to just throw a Volkswagen over a building. Arnold has the ability to communicate that cuts through cultures and countries. They'd just love to see this guy win. But everybody thinks it's his muscles. It's not that at all. It's his face and his eyes. He has a face that's a throwback to a warrior from the Middle Ages or ancient Greece." I thought that was kind of interesting.
I do.
Because it wasn't Commando.
Right.
It wasn't Raw Deal.
Right.
He didn't have the quippy one-liners that we're kind of used to seeing from 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
It was very much, it wasn't Terminator serious, but there were still some funny moments, but it was kind of like more of a subtle funny.
Yes.
Now the problem is, this movie didn't do as well as some of his other movies, and definitely didn't do as well as his other movie that came out this exact same year, which is Twins.
Yeah.
So this one and Twins came out the same year. So if it didn't do as well, was it because Arnold wasn't as funny as he can sometimes be? Or how did you, was this the first time you've seen this movie?
No,
Let's start with that. You've seen this one before.
I've seen this one before.
This was the first time I'd seen this one.
Okay.
So, how does this one compare for you then with Commando?
Yeah, that was like whoa!
Commando. Your reaction to Commando is like my reaction to finding out Ash versus Evil Dead is what it is.
Right.
Like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know what? This is fun fantasy, and this is movies I remember. I didn't grow up with this movie. I think I saw it later. Maybe I caught it on WGN or something. I just remember parts where, and actually I remember parts. I don't even know if I've even seen it all the way through, start to finish. I've seen different parts of it. It's a fun movie. I like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. They're fun. Somehow he can emote that character so well, and it is with a look and a facial expression and all that. And so, he brings that character to life, and it's entertaining to watch, and it's fun, and that's what it is. The bad guys were bad guys. The good guys were the good guys. Cut and dry. There wasn't any, much middle ground in between it, and I have fun watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. This one's going to be an easy one for me to review. Why is it not as popular as the other ones? Well, take a look at the sum total number of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies out there, and it's like people are going to pick and choose. Unless you're the diehard fan. Oh, a Schwarzenegger movie? We've already seen all those. Let's go see some. He was in that Mob one, right? Where he played the undercover guy.
Raw Deal.
And Raw Deal, you mentioned it. And was that one as popular? Because I remember there were some in there that it was like,
not as much.
So I think that's kind of what you have with this, is there are just some that are more popular and some that are less popular. The fans with the 37%, I don't ever, I don't know. They just didn't like it as much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think you can necessarily point to the lack of one-liners, and
Raw Deal did not do well.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
I went back, actually, oddly enough, it was episode number 101.
Okay.
So it was 85 episodes ago.
It was 85 episodes.
That's
Cyberdyne System Model 101.
101, that's right. How many kilometers would 85 be? I don't even know.
85 kilometers?
Like 150?
Well, 100 kilometers is 60 miles, 62 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So 80, that would be maybe 40 miles?
It was my understanding there would be no math.
Yeah, I know.
During the debates.
Yeah.
Okay. This one did not do. Cinema Score got the same score, audio for Raw Deal. I'm looking back at like the Rotten Tomatoes stuff. Audience gave it a 29%. Critics gave it a 25%. Yeah. So critics, I mean, Roger Ebert gave this one, the one we're talking about now, Red Heat. Ebert gave it 3 stars. He liked it.
Yeah.
Ebert gave Raw Deal 1.5 stars.
Yeah. So whatever. And again, we're looking at one metric.
Actually, here was Ebert's quote for Raw Deal. In a way, it should all be so simple. We could type the screenplay ourselves wearing boxing gloves.
Yeah, and I can see that. This movie was fun. The back and forth. There was the buddy cop kind of thing. Jim Belushi is great. The supporting characters were either big name actors in their own right or going to become that way with Lawrence Fishburne, Gina Gershon.
Yes.
Yes. It was
Face Off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie. I don't know what else to say. I enjoyed it, and it was fun watching those guys go back and forth, and yeah. I'm just stopping and kind of getting lost in thought because this is what I like about movies. I like a whole range of movies. Action movies with motorcycles, love movies with motorcycles.
Yeah.
Horror movies with
anything with motorcycles.
Yeah, no, but seriously, I like a wide range of movies, but these are the movies I cater to. They're fun. Yeah. I don't care if there's one person in the theater or 20 people. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. This one, it wasn't. And that what I read from Wikipedia, the description of the movie itself, like the plot description, not very long. It's not a complicated movie.
They're catching the bad guy.
He comes from Russia to catch the bad guy, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
And then you've got the little quippy stuff back and forth, but it's kind of like and so then it makes sense that this is the same guy that directed 48 Hours. Another cop movie. And, you've got like the Beverly Hills Cop, kind of similar to that, but fun movie. I don't know that there's a whole lot to it necessarily. It's a
vehicle to
dive into and talk about.
Let Jim Belushi be Jim Belushi,
and Arnold be Arnold.
And Jim Belushi was the same kind of guy that he was in that other movie with that guy where they fall in love. And
About Last Night.
Was that
the one you didn't like?
Yeah, it's
Rob Lowe and
the Super Romacon, or what do you call that thing?
Whatever. The romantic comedy.
Yes, yeah. It was that one, right?
Yeah, it was the About Last Night.
Sam Seymour was in it, and he was a jerk.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Jim Belushi's kind of the same guy.
Right.
I mean, but
he's kind of the same guy in everything he does.
And why would you want it any different? It's fun watching him on screen. Like, that's why you go see
He's
this.
a little bit like his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and here we go. It's following the formula. The boss, the police commander that doesn't trust the guy. You take him right out of town. Cue the music. We're not going right out of town because we look at the watch. We only have this many minutes to solve the problem, and we can make that happen. By golly, by gosh, something's going wrong. One of two things is going to solve the problem, right? Sawing at the wheel and kicking the rear end of the car out as you're going through it, or 2, flooring the gas pedal and just driving through stuff. It's going to solve it in this movie. Right. So there you go.
Right.
The music. I mean, it was James Horner, which was cool. I liked that he threw in the vocal techniques, the vocal treatments with that kind of had a little bit more of a kind of that Russian male chorus kind of sound. That was very cool. But again, even the chase, you get that like kind of repeated drum like, you have like mysterious kind of kind of melody going on.
A little bit of like a Predator or a Commando kind of.
Exactly. It's just a repeated thing. And in this, every once in a while you get like an electronic flute sound, that kind of thing. And so you got this music to build tension. They look at the clock. We got this many time to kick butt, right? Yep. At the very end, he's got the 44 Magnum, which he makes the little quip about. He trusts the Soviet whatever the heck better. And it's a 6-shot gun. He managed to get 10 shots out of it into the guy at the end. I mean,
and that's what's amazing about Arnold.
and so there you go. And I mean, it's just like really, guys, is that how we're? Well, whatever. Okay. I mean. Don't ask too much of it. Right. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Don't pour a bowl of popcorn and then ask for a 5-course meal.
Right.
If you want a 5-course meal, go get a 5-course meal. You want a bowl of popcorn, have a bowl of popcorn.
Yeah.
I like both. Well, I like to eat a bowl of popcorn. So that's. I mean, I hate to break it down like that, but I mean, it's just fun. Yeah. Or you don't like it, then just go watch something else.
Right.
Find a Rubicon or something, whatever you call those other movies. But
I don't even know what you're trying to get at.
I don't know.
Well, and one other thing about this one is I look at a movie like this and sometimes I try to compare to the different Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Sure.
And I'm like, you know what? Do I like this one as much as because like I said, this is the first time I've seen this one, and I was like, do I like this one as much as I do Commando? No. Do I like this one as much as I do Raw Deal? And then I was trying to compare them. I was like, I don't know, because Raw Deal is definitely more serious. Mm-hmm. This one's kind of an in between. This one's got the funny moments. Most of the funny moments come from Jim Belushi. Mm-hmm. But then I do still think that you've got a lot of funny moments with Arnold, where just because he's not saying as much. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the quippy one-liners, but it's the stuff like, oh, thanks a lot. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that. I know.
Yeah.
Like, just, he doesn't have to say much for it to be funny, and I think that's part of what he does well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I like this one. It's...
His movies aren't too heavy-duty.
No.
I mean, there's violence,
right? Which
you could argue on a social level, is it right or wrong? But it's there's always kind of that, wink wink kind of thing going on where he's just having fun,
right?
Is the way he can play those characters,
And interesting that they in 1988 that they would take the idea of having a Russian cop that comes over to our country, and in a lot of ways, he's superior to the American cops. Yeah. He's superior to him. And it's not like, and I think I read this in one of the other reviews too, and I was like, I totally agree with that, was he doesn't, he doesn't defect at the end. He's not like, oh yes, I will stay in America. And I went, right. No, he goes back to Russia. Like, he's not looking at it going, oh yeah, America's a much better place. I should stay here. It's not that. It's, I got the guy. I'm going back home. I like home better.
Well,
and I was like, that's kind of cool, because at the time in our country, it would have been like, well, you have like the Rocky IV, and you're like, well, again, America versus Russia, it's America's better, and
right.
Well,
yeah, and I see that more of they're just kind of, it's an interesting trend of like, they're the mortal enemies. So of course they've got like the super weapon, they've got the super soldier, right. They're the ones that are developing, these, I mean, even, they even kind of do it in Avengers, right? I mean, they're building the super soldier. I think that's kind of where it came from. There's, we want to have to fight Spectre, and Spectre has these, specially trained guys, and they did that in James Bond. There were the guys that, were superhuman. So we want to fight Cobra. Okay, well, Cobra's got all this, myriad array of, super villains that can come at you. Mm-hmm. It's the super villain thing, and they all belong to the same world. And I think that they kind of, in the 80s, it was easy to do that. They tag onto that with, the Soviet Union was, oh, well, of course, they're coming up with, these super soldiers, and of course they have that because, do you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, Rocky IV, they were training him and giving him they were creating this, super kind of guy, mm-hmm. That, and they will make him like the more serious, more stolid, more mm-hmm. stuffy kind of guy because, they kind of are playing up the American images. Hey, come on, the American hang up, because the American kind of likes the cowboy, mm-hmm. likes the. Do you get mm-hmm. what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think those were the stereotypes that they were mm-hmm. playing up. The problem is when people believe that those stereotypes exist in real life, and then they try to solve the world problems by just saying they're all part of the same bag. Well, mm-hmm. whatever. But
right.
And sometimes that can be negative. Is where they get into America, rock and roll, sports, and all mm-hmm. this, and then the other countries have the whatever, and they what to denigrate, classical music mm-hmm. or any kind of art music, or you look at art or refined, what I'm saying?
Or Arnold looks at a porn movie and says capitalism.
Exactly. Right. So that becomes the image of mm-hmm. America.
Right.
Again, I don't think we should look too deep in a movie like this mm-hmm. for that. But I think at its core, this movie was. I
wouldn't look too deep there.
No, but that's what this movie. That's what this movie is playing up. It's playing up those stereotypes, the crazy wild American. Right. And they talk in Rising Sun. Suddenly they took a different example in that movie because Sean Connery was talking about the difference between Japan and America, and mm-hmm. that he wants to play the wild American gangster, and it just. In that one scene. I'm sorry, I'm totally mm-hmm. jumping movies and giving away scenes. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying? I think a lot of that just played up our image at the time of, what we thought was going on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
To pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You can do. You know, we can solve the problems with just a punch to the face or this or that. I mean,
Delta Force.
Exactly. Exactly.
Dun, 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 that music is still
Yeah,
stuck in my
yeah.
head. We did that one like 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Sleep tight, sucker.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cute and I like it, but I think you got to look at it for kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But I think they like to play that up. It's fun.
So have you? And the director's saying that he intentionally wanted Arnold to take on a little bit more of a serious role in this movie. My next couple of questions for you, I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball because I didn't give you these questions ahead of time. Have you seen
No.
a serious... You don't even know what my question's going to be.
Well, not yet,
Oh,
but you told us about it. And I haven't seen it yet. The one with the daughter?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, that's going to be my answer.
Okay.
Have my answer.
Sorry, did I cut to the chase?
No.
Sorry.
Have you seen what you'd consider to be a more serious Arnold Schwarzenegger role that you've liked? Or I guess a better question is, have you seen a more serious Arnold role?
For most of the Arnold movies, I can't really think of one.
I feel like most of his are still even if it's an action movie, it's still, he's got the quippy one-liners because that's what we know him for.
It's go have fun
kind
of thing. So yeah, I don't think I have.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that. So you get into your...
Mine would be the Maggie movie.
Yeah.
And I like that one. It was a different movie for him to be in, and I think it was just a very different situation for him as a character and as an actor.
Yeah.
Was to be, if I'm remembering right, he was a farmer, and his daughter. There's been a zombie outbreak, and come to find out that his daughter's been infected. I don't know if he was the sheriff. He might have been the sheriff at one point. I'm kind of forgetting the details of the movie, but he's allowed to bring her back home, even though typically once somebody's infected, you do away with them so that nobody else gets infected. And he brings her back home, and then he kind of takes her and is on the run. And he's like, I want to spend as much time as I can with her. I'm not going to let anybody take her. We're not doing this. So it's a very, very sad and very serious movie, and there's really not any humor in it at all.
Yeah.
It was just kind of interesting to see him in a role like that, because that's not how you're used to seeing his character. You're used to seeing him, shoot the bad guy and then tell a one-line joke and move on and, fire 20 more shots out of his gun that holds 6 bullets.
Yeah.
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 I'm going to ask you a really, really horrible question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
Commando.
If you only pick one. Slow down there. Let me finish the question.
I got it.
Commando?
Yeah, I gotta say Commando. That movie just was, that was like, oh my gosh, I love that movie. I'll go through all the other Schwarzenegger movies I've seen and found reasons to like them, and wow, this is cool and that's cool, and the other, but Commando's just a great movie.
Yeah.
That's the one I would say, you go see, if you want to see a Schwarzenegger movie, go see Commando.
If you want to just watch a movie and blow off some steam.
Yeah, just watch Commando. I mean, it had it all. It really had it all. So, anyways.
Okay. All right. Well, that was easy. That was an easy question.
Yeah, sorry about that. What about you?
I don't know. I've been looking back over his list of movies, and maybe Terminator 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say for you. I was gonna say Terminator 2 because I know you.
Yeah, because I really like the Terminator movies. Maybe Terminator 2 would be my favorite out of all of his. Yeah, I'm looking back over the list real quick. Probably Terminator 2. Although Commando's up there.
Yeah.
Commando's definitely up there, and then Predator probably pretty close too. I know Jeff's favorite is Red Sonja. So
easily, we got that. We got him covered.
Absolute favorite is Red Sonja. So I did see. I looked real fast to see what he's got coming up. He's going to be in Kung Fury 2. Mm-hmm. So
I'm excited. I'm excited about Kung Fury.
We talked about Cobra Kai last time. Talk about half hour of fun.
Oh,
it was like 45 minutes. How long was Kung Fury? Was it like 45 minutes, half hour?
It was a half hour.
Half hour.
It's
like 29 minutes and 30 seconds.
It is. Kung Fury is something to behold.
So he'll be in Kung Fury 2.
Good.
Okay. He is supposedly they are working on a sequel to Twins.
Okay.
And he it's listed in here on his IMDb page. I don't know if they're actually going to make it or not. Called Triplets.
I've heard, but
we were talking before about how in the 80s they had talked about doing a Triplets, and I think like one of the ideas was that Eddie Murphy was going to be the third. And it was like, well, That would have been hilarious.
That would have been fun.
So I don't know what this triplets is going to be, but it's listed on his IMDb page. So
well, all right. Well,
maybe.
We'll see.
Got a new Legend of Conan movie coming out, so he will probably play. I don't know if he's going to play actual Conan or like old. Sometimes they have some stories that were like King Conan, where he's older. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe he plays some other character. I don't know. He's listed as playing Conan. So. Yeah. And then there's supposedly another Terminator movie coming out.
Right, we discussed that,
He will be in that one as the Terminator. Don't know anything else about it, but supposedly that's going on. So, yeah, I don't know. What do we need to say anything else about Red Heat?
I'm good.
Fun movie?
That's
no motorcycles, but fun movie.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
Bus chases?
Yeah, it was cool. Bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jim Belushi, and Gina Gershon. That's kind of all we need to say.
There's the microphone dropping.
And Lawrence Fishburne's in it, too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's going to do it. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but I don't know what else you say about Red Heat. It's just fun. It's not going to win any Oscars.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie.
Not every movie needs to.
Not every movie needs to. That's correct. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our Red Heat episode. If you want to listen to any of our other episodes we've done, if you want to give us some feedback, if you want to call and let us know what you liked about Red Heat, or if we were totally wrong and it's the worst movie of all time and you'd like to share that with us, then we would love to hear it from you. I don't know if we'd love to hear it, but
yeah, we'd take it.
We'll do it anyway. We'll take everything.
It's May 15th, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Well, not right.
I'm sorry.
Way to ruin it.
It's
that we record this a week ahead of time. Thanks a lot, there, Pat.
It's May 23rd. Solo comes out in 2 days.
Okay.
It's May 23rd. Solo comes out in 2 days.
2 days.
Solo comes out in 2 days. I don't even know why I'm talking like this. I'm gonna see Solo in 2 days.
Man, Millennium Falcon. The movie's not going to have a motorcycle in it. But
the Millennium Falcon is going to be brought to me young and unspoiled.
That I don't know how to take that.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, well. Anyway, moving on. If you want to reach out to us, 30podcast.com. You can email us. You can... Son of a... Okay. 30podcast.com. I'm going to get this done at some point. 30podcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at 30podcast, Facebook 30podcast. We are also on Instagram, and I'm sure there's some other social media thing that we'll sign up for at some point too. We are on Stitcher, Satchel, Google Play, iTunes, on the Podbean website. You can find us and subscribe there, and we are at 30podcast.com if you want to listen to us there. We've got a voicemail line that you can call in if you want to. Other than that, our next episode's coming up. We're going to finish off the month of May. It's our Cops and Aliens month. We've got Maniac Cop, which I have not seen before, but I'm looking forward to seeing. It's a Bruce Campbell movie.
Yep.
So, have you seen it?
No.
No? Okay. Maniac Cop coming up. I'm going to try to do a little mini episode on Deadpool 2, which, let's see. At the time of this episode being released, I saw it yesterday.
I bet you can't wait to
find out if it's
awesome.
It was outstanding. When will then be now?
It was going to be outstanding tomorrow when I last saw it.
It was right. It was going to be amazing. It was going to have been amazing. I don't even know. Time. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. All kinds of stuff.
Time is so elastic. I envy us.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget the garbage can. Okay.
I heard about it, Bill and Ted's. I heard about that.
3, I did hear about that too. Yeah,
I heard about. That's all. We'll keep it on track. That's all I heard. I haven't heard any details, but
the only details I've heard, the only rumor I've heard, is that Bill and Ted are middle-aged.
Mm-hmm.
They have kids. They have a family, and they haven't quite written just that amazing song
okay.
yet.
Yeah.
And somebody from the future shows up, and they're like, "Hey, the future depends on you writing this song. Let's go."
That's cool.
And supposedly that's the rumor right now, that's the premise for the movie.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I'm totally fine with that.
All right.
Without derailing us too much further, found a comic book when I was at the C2E2 comic book show in Chicago. They've done a continuation of the Bill and Ted stories through the comics.
Good.
And the one I picked up, and I cannot find the last issue, I got to go find it somewhere, is Bill and Ted Save the Universe.
Cool.
And it's like they have to go out, they have to tour in space and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. Our next episode, Maniac Cop, Deadpool 2 will be coming out. Alien Nation, looking forward to that one. Solo, We're gonna, at the time of this episode coming out, we're gonna see someone in 2 days.
2 days.
2 days.
More.
There you go. And then coming up in June, so hopefully we'll have Jeff and some of the other guys back for the June episodes. Will be, so if you want to get ahead and listen and go watch some of these movies so you can listen along, we're going to be doing The Great Outdoors.
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Coming to America.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, America.
F you too. Yeah. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Have you ever seen that one?
I'm looking forward to that.
Very weird movie.
Yep.
Very weird.
Yep.
Not as weird as a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Those were super weird.
Weirdest.
But not, it's not a Dead Ringers week.
Gotcha.
So, and Beetlejuice.
Oh, fun.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Oh. Does the same person have to say it 3
No,
times?
it doesn't.
Okay.
That's just one. That's
Good.
two
I didn't say Beetlejuice. Oh.
Oh, no.
I just did.
All right.
That's not cool. Okay.
And
anyway, before the Ghost with the Most comes back and gets me and drags me down into the underworld with him, Sandworms, right?
Yes.
That's right. We will see you all next time. Go watch some good movies. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, John.
Go watch some good movies. Be excellent to each other, and we will see you all next time.
Goodbye.
Solo in 2 days.
Yeah.